आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोद निराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In this 10th class on Kena-Upanishad, where we are specially referring to the second commentary that Adi Shankaracharya wrote called vākya-bhāshya, the first one being pada-bhāshya, we are going to see a very beautiful mantra, the second section, fourth mantra. You are seeing the slide on the screen already. There are 9 slides in this presentation, and the mantra goes, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. Interestingly, as compared with Padabhashya, Shankaracharya himself splits the sentences in a different way in vākya-bhāshya. In the Padabhashya, he would take Atmana Vindate Viryam together. One gets all the strength from within oneself, which is a very popular interpretation. I have myself quoted it at a lot of places. All strength comes to you from within you. Atmana Vindate Viryam. But in this Vakya-bhashya, Adi Shankaracharya stops at Atmana Vindate, then says, Viryam Vidyaya Vindate. Virya comes from wisdom. Therefore, in simple terms, if the Padabhashya gave the interpretation that all Viryam, great inner strength, great strength to face situations, great strength to bear with failure, bear with loss, great strength to go through life with a smile upon one's face, that strength comes from within. Viryam Atmana Vindate was the interpretation in Padabhashya. But in these classes, we are seeing Vakya-bhashya. In Vakya-bhashya, the sentence to be considered is Viryam Vidyaya Vindate. Therefore, Viryam is the subject of both the sentences. Viryam Kasmat Vindate. Where do we get strength from? Padabhashya says we get strength from within. And Vakya-bhashya says we get strength from right understanding of the pure self. Technically, of course, both of them merge, but in terms of how the sentences are recognized, there is a big difference. But let's first focus on the first half of the mantra, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Bodha means knowledge, recognition, or cognition, a thought about something that is in front of us. I see an elephant coming towards me. There is this elephant here. That's a thought. Or the thought could be about something within myself. Suddenly I remember what happened in 2008. And then I say, yes, in 2008, I was in Mount Abu when on the television I saw how there was an attack, terrorist attack on Mumbai city. So a thought about something that happened in 2008 November, what is known as 26/11. I just offhand referred to that example, 26th of November. A memory rises in my mind. So that's also a thought. A thought could be a memory, a thought could be some reaction to something in front of us, a thought could be a sense of pride, a thought could be a feeling, an emotion, a doubt. Therefore, we have antakarana divided into mana, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. All of them are thoughts. And bodha here means a thought. As a thought arises, worldly people are very busy in examining the content of the thought. Someone who is anchored in pure self does not do that. The Atmanishta, the Brahmanishta, looks at thought and rather than getting carried away by thought and its content and its details and its other aspects, asks himself only one question: who is illumining this thought? Who is making this thought knowable? And the answer is I, as awareness, I, as pure consciousness, I, as the Chit Tattva, am illumining this thought. And the very advanced student of the Upanishads right away goes into abiding by that awareness principle. Therefore, this beautiful mantra says, you don't have to go to Himalayas. You don't have to go to a cave. You don't have to go to some hallowed learning center for Vedanta. Do receive knowledge from any place, but then, as you are advanced, for you to be with the self, be in the self, be as the self, all you need is a thought. A thought rises, and you go into an appreciation, a certain anchoring in the light in which the thought is soaked. Thought is pervaded. Every bit of thought is covered by light. Like i.e.Brahman says, anything and everything in this Jagat is covered by God. i.e.Vasyamidam sarvam. This mantra says every thought is covered by consciousness, and be with consciousness. Don't take the noise being made by thought seriously. Turn inward, stay as the self. Amritatvam hi vindate. Because in this kind of abiding by pure self, you will get immortality. Therefore, there is all the more reason for you to stay as the pure self. And the second quarter of this mantra says Amritatvam vindate. In vākya-bhāshya, Amritatvam hi vindate atmana. Atmana vindate. As though that vindate is explained a second time. Amritatvam katham vindate. Atmana vindate. Immortality is gained through the pure self by the self. So, Viryam will be taken in the next sentence. Viryam vidyaya vindati. Thus, what makes this mantra very beautiful is it is very good. It facilitates instant atmanishtha. You have been so carried away by content of thought. It is like on a plain sheet of white paper, some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are written. And you are again and again reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is this? What are these numbers all about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is this? Then somebody says, don't worry about those numbers written. We want you to see the paper, the sheet on which anything could be written. What is written in it? Don't bother. Appreciate this sheet. Atmanishta is something like that. When you have very high vairagya, you refuse to be carried away by either a good thought or a bad thought, a pleasant thought or an unpleasant thought. You refuse to be carried away by the noise of the mind. You only say, this mind is soaked in pure consciousness and I am that. Therefore, viditam, Brahma is to be known through every thought, no matter what kind of thought it is. It doesn't matter. Like we say in the Vedanta elsewhere, through an illustration, whether some gold is given to you in the form of Rama or Ravana, two little statues. I get the statue of Rama. You get the statue of Ravana. Now, if your attention is on gold, and suppose you and I are told whether it is Rama or Ravana, it is so many grams, so much of weight of gold, same quality of gold, then why bother whether it is a statue of Rama or a statue of Ravana? We got gold, and gold of the same weight, same mass, same quality is equally valued. Thoughts are like statues. Thoughts with their name and form are so many, what Vedanta calls vikaras, modifications. Don't be affected by the modifications. See the essence of thought, and that is Brahman. Viditam. Through every thought, Viditam, known is Brahma. And we must know it because that's the way to immortality. That's the way to conquer death. And then Viryam Vidyaya Vindate. You get the maximum, ultimate strength in the Shānkarabhāshya. The synonym given, as we will see soon, is Balam. Balam is strength. Sri Krishna in the Gita says, Balam Balavatam Chaham Kamaraga Vivarjitam. You and I will be having so much of strength, so much of prowess, so much of capacity, so much of stamina, so much of ability to stay firm in inner quietude. Balam. Where does it come? Vidyaya Viryam Vindate. Viryam Vidyaya Vindate. Gain the Vedanta wisdom. Put in necessary effort. As Kena-Upanishad would say, go to competent teachers and acquire the wisdom. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan, Nibodata. Nibodata, please come to know the Vedanta wisdom, Varan Prapya, having approached competent teachers. Thus, you get Balam. And what is that Balam? What is that Viryam? Amrutam. It is such strength which never dies, never perishes. Whatever strength you gain in this world by having money or power or position and so on goes away. A whole lot of people who during few years when maybe they held some position, they were sitting upon some chair, were happy in some way to some extent, but that chair doesn't stay with them forever. But this Balam, this Viryam born of Brahmajnana is Amritam. It is Avinashi. Thus, we go to the next slide where Adi Shankaracharya, in all kindness, explains Pratibodha Viditam iti Vipsa. Vipsa, if you split it, becomes V, that is a preposition, Ipsa. Ipsa is aptum icha, desire to get. V ipsa, somebody would imagine, oh, maybe it is about, maybe it's an intense desire to get something. No. Vipsa means dviruktihi, dvihi uktihi, saying a second time. Vipsa is a less known word by people who have limited knowledge of Sanskrit. They would not figure out what is this Vipsa, but Vipsa, even the dictionary of Vaman Shivaram Apte says Punarvachanam, saying it again. Very much like in a lot of our Bhagavatam and other Puranas, there is a word Nishamya. Sham, Shamyati means to calm down. So somebody with limited knowledge of Sanskrit would imagine Nishamya means maybe Nitaram Shantim Prapya, becoming very calm and quiet. No, in a lot of places, Nishamya, once you put the Upasarga ni, Sham, which elsewhere is Sham, Shamyati, the word Shanti comes from Sham, is about calming down. But once you put ni, Nishamya means Shrutva. Shrutva, having heard. Therefore, be careful about upasargas. Don't imagine or don't presume some meaning. Check with the dictionary. Check with the appropriate translation. Pratibodha vinitam iti atra vipsa vartate. There is a repetition. What does it mean? Repetition is here because pratibodha means, as the next Sanskrit sentence Bhashyakara says, bodham prati. In every thought, in Indian languages, you repeat a noun, then it becomes in every house. So, I went to every house. That in Indian language like Hindi, ghar jakar, you repeat. In English, you cannot do that literally. This is called unique features of languages. So, bodham prati or bodham prati. In every thought, what is meant is every thought. By saying bodham prati, you say it twice, ghar mein Gita. There was a program of Chinmaya Mission in olden days. Swamis and brahmacharis would go to many houses in a manner of saying. They would try to go to every house and hold a lecture on Gita. That was called ghar mein Gita. Ghar said twice, but doesn't mean only two houses. But as many houses as possible, practically or in spirit, I should say, going to every house to talk about Bhagavad Gita. So, bodham prati, that's written in the second line. In every thought, it is known. The repetition of words indicates that thoughts are the way to know the self. What is meant by repeating in this thought and in that thought too and in the third thought too? What is meant is pratyayanam atma avabodha dvaratva. Every pratyaya, every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every state of mind, if you have developed the skill, can become a dwara. Dwara means gateway. Dwara means entry point. You go to a big place and wonderful, and you want to go in and you ask, where is the entrance to this building? There are hotels at various places, and the front is so grand, but then you find there is no entrance. Then they say entrance is from behind because the front is a busy road, and we have provided entrance to this hotel from behind or from a side where the less busy road runs. So entry, dwara, what is the entry point for the highest self-knowledge? Every thought of yours, you don't have to read somebody else's thoughts, please. Don't be interested in that siddhi. I want to read others' minds. No, no need. It's more a nuisance. No, your thought and ordinary philosophy, ordinary psychology might give you certain exposure, certain training in interpreting thoughts, in finding a cause for a thought. Why is this cause arising in me? What is the cause of fear? What is the cause of delight? But in higher Vedanta, who cares for cause? Cause hunting is a closed file. Here is a thought, and we pay attention to the very awareness in which thought rises and falls. bodham prati iti vipsa. Again, vipsa means repetition. Dviruktihi in Sanskrit, dvihi means twice. Uktihi, saying. So saying twice. Dviruktihi vipsa sarva pratyaya vyaptyartha. Though it is said twice, that is pratibodha is interpreted as bodham prati twice. What it means is sarveshu pratyeshu sarva pratyaya vyaptyartha. There just cannot be even a tiny thought without consciousness enveloping it, running in and through it. In each thought, this repetition shows that every thought, with every thought, there is invariable concomitance. Anvaya Vyatireka, we say, invariable concomitance is Anvaya. Wherever there is a thought, undoubtedly there is pure consciousness. There is no chance of a thought having risen, but consciousness is on the way, not yet come. Impossible. With no delay, right away with a thought, there is consciousness pervading thought. Vyapti, it pervades. Therefore, we say, uh, Shankara continues, Bauddhaha hi sarve pratyayaha taptalohavat nitya vijnana swarupa atma vyapta vaptatvat vijnana swarupa avabhasaha. Don't worry about this little longer sentence here. All that it means is Bauddhaha. As your Sanskrit slightly improves, you will be skilled enough to know that a word like Buddha doesn't have to have anything to do with Buddha. Buddha philosophy, Buddha mata, etc. Those words we have. In other contexts, Buddha can mean something related to the Buddha. But here, Buddha means something related to Buddhi. In our Buddhi, in our intellect, in this context, whether it's Buddhi or Manaha, Chitta or Ahankara, no problem, no difference. In our Antakarana, Buddhaha, Buddhau Sthitaha, Sarve Pratyaha, all kinds of thoughts. All of them are Tapta Lohavat. They are like Loha, call it iron. Iron is heated to such an extent, it is going glowing red. A ball of iron which by itself has no light is made red hot, and in a dark room that is brought and kept on a metal stool. It's on a stool. So you go to the dark room meaning a room which was dark before this was brought. You see a ball of fire. The fire doesn't belong to iron. Tapta lohavat. Likewise, the ability to know, the ability to feel, ability to judge, ability to react, ability to figure out. 100 abilities reside in a thought. Therefore, ordinary people are very crazy, very excited about power of thought. But those who are full of viveka and vairagya go further. They say, we are not interested in the power of thought. We want to know what gives power to thought. Where is the source of that power? And that is Nitya Vijnana Swarupa, Atma Vyaptatvat. All these thoughts are pervaded by Atma, which is of the nature of consciousness that never lapses, that never has even an instant of suspension or break. Viparilopo na vidyate, says Kena-Upanishad. Therefore, Nitya Vijnana, not just Vijnana, there is something called Kshanika Vijnana, Anitya Vijnana, but this is Nitya Vijnana, ever radiant, ever glowing. Nitya Vijnana, and later on Vijnana Swarupa Avabhasa. So these thoughts very much look like having their own knowledge. Avabhasa means they appear to be having their own wisdom, their own intelligence, but they don't. Just as the iron ball seems to have become a source of light, allow it to cool down. Wait, go there after half an hour. The whole iron ball cools down and no light comes from it. Iron ball has no light. Agnivata, third line says, just as fire as though lent light to that iron ball. Like that, tadanya avabhasascha atma. Tadanya, different from thought, which apparently had ability to know. Here is tad anya. Other than thought, there is this avabhasa. In the second occurrence of the word avabhasa, it is not apparently, it is actually of the nature of light. Atma tadanya avabhasa. Tad vilakshanaha is different from thought. Agnivad upalabhyate. If thought is like iron ball, Atma is like the light which has come to reside for a while. Otherwise, Agni by nature is light. Agni has heat, Agni has light. Agnivad upalabhyate iti te dwari bhavanti. Atmopalabdhau. Te here refers to sarve pratyayaha. Te of Sanskrit is they of English. Thoughts. Referring to thoughts, it is said they become the door. They become the entry point. In this way, we have to appreciate, and Adi Shankara helps us so much with his succinct comments. Tasmat pratibodha viditam. Pratibodha in red letters is the word from the mantra. Pratibodha avabhasa pratyatmataya. In every apparent process of knowing, we think that a thought got to know something. But in that process of a thought apparently knowing something, as the inner self of it, what is making thought a tool to know? Generally, we are so indebted to thought. We want to think, and when we think, we get knowledge. So we think that knowledge comes from thought, but thought is able to know because of the light of consciousness. Consciousness is the pratyagatma. Pratyag means inner, atma means self, the inner self of thought. And this inner self of thought can be known in every thought. Tad Brahma, Tadeva Matam. That alone is Samyagdhanam. That is to be known, and that is what deserves to be called knowledge. All else is mere appearance. Yat pratyagatma vijnanam. In this world, in this life of ours, millions of other forms of knowledge, alas, are a waste. They just take us round and round in circles. You may go to the best universities in the world, come back or work there only wherever you went, from foreign university, let us say. No matter where you go, what you do, all forms of university knowledge finally leave you in the lurch. You are back to square one. You were from a little village in Telangana, let us say, and somehow you made your way to higher and higher studies and abroad. And just recently you retired from Harvard University. Wow, the world stands up and applauds you. But the end of it all, tired, suffering from old age problems, and suffering from some kind of loneliness, and remembering your good times once in a while, But of what use are all those good times? Today I have nobody with me, and anything can happen. Therefore, the knowledge that made you head of department, dean of some subject, some studies, etc., prestigious university, take you nowhere. It's not significantly different. Your brother who remained in the village in Telangana, in certain ways, he is happier. He is still with some sort of a joint family. Some 12 to 15 people are in the house. That's possible. So the glitter and glamour that go with so much of academic qualifications and other things don't measure up to the bliss of Brahman. Therefore, Brahma Jnanam eva Samyak Jnanam yat Pratyagatma Vijnanam na Vishaya Vijnanam. Even those who study Vedanta somehow retain a thought that this Brahma can become a Vishaya, can become an object of knowledge, are gone. The earlier mantras went in detail that the tiniest notion, an iota of a notion, that Brahma could be an object of knowledge makes you lose the main point. And Adi Shankaracharya quotes from Kathopanishad, Atmatvena Pratyagatmana Mekshad iti Katake. Kathopanishad also is called Kataka-Upanishad. It's also called Kathopanishad because there is a Katha story. So it has two chapters. Second chapter, very first Valli and very first mantra. 2.1.1. What does it say? The whole mantra, many of you know. Paranti khani vyatranat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman paschidhiraha pratyagatmana maikshat avritta chakshuramritatvam chan. So there is that portion, pratyagatmanam aikshat. 1 in a million turns inward and beholds, in a figurative language, beholds the pure self. Brahman is beheld as one's own pure self. Pratyagatmanam Ikatake. Coming back in this Kena-Upanishad mantra, Amritatvam hi vindate. This is the second quarter. Pratibodha viditam matam, first quarter, Amritatvam hi vindate, second quarter, Atmana vindate viryam, third pada, Vidyaya vindate, Amritam, fourth pada. Amritatvam hi vindate, shown here in red, iti hetu vachanam viparyaye mrityu praptehe. Any other knowledge, any other form of envisaging or visualizing, figuring out what this Brahman is, leaves you in death. Only this understanding of Brahma, where you are 100% clear that it can never be an object. To know Brahma is to be Brahma. To be Brahma is the way to know Brahma. And to be Brahma, you don't have to do anything. You need to just let go of the last traces of the old bad habit, where anything to be known has to be in front of you as separate from you. And in the matter of Brahma, to look at Brahma as separate from you is impossible. Therefore, when there is the least amount of sense of separation between Brahman and you, as Kathopanishad says, Mrityosya mrityum gacchati yaiha naneva pashyati. Normally we say people are born again and again, punarjanma. One goes from one birth to the next birth. But Kathopanishad says one goes from one death to another death. Because living with body identification, living with raga-dvesha, living with negative energies, living with fear, living with insecurity, what living is it? It is death only. Therefore, though somebody may say, I lived 100 years, Upanishad would say you actually died all through those 100 years. You died more than you lived. Because any day and every day you have either the old fear or the new fear. You went from fear to fear, desire to desire, complaint to complaint. What life is it? You hardly lived. You actually died all through those 100 years. Then you were reborn and again you lived 102 years, but you died. To live in fear is more death than living. Therefore, right understanding is required. Shankaracharya helps us with such masterly strokes of observations. Vishayatma vijnanehi mrityuhu prarabhate. This business of death, prarabhate, starts. This business of death begins in you when you lack correct self-knowledge. Vishayatma vijnana is incorrect self-knowledge. So most learned Vedanta scholars also could fall a prey to incorrect Atmajnana. That is Vishayatmajnana. Atma never is Vishaya really. But in our immaturity, and because we don't have enough Vairagya, we do not have enough Viveka, we do not have freedom from our own bad habits, we still have much mechanicalness in our life. We embrace Atma-jnana, making Atma a Vishaya object. Vishayatma vijnane mrityuhu prarabdha. Then begins, though it's an illusion, but for the person who has false understanding of Brahma, the illusion of death is very real. Mrityuhu prarabhate. Atma vijnanam amritatva nimittamiti yuktam hetuvachanam tattvam vindate. Shankara repeats the second quarter of this mantra after saying Pratibodha Viditam Matam Amritatvam Jivindate, one attains immortality, is Hetu Vachanam. It is to indicate that because immortality is gained by right understanding of Atma, you got to have right understanding of Atma. Don't settle for some half-baked knowledge. With half-baked knowledge, you can go around, give lectures, and people will respect you for your oratory, for your information, for your scholarship. But you will never be free of fear or worry or anxiety. You want to be free of all those negative emotions? No Atma. Precisely. In the present context, no Atma to be something which can never be objectified. Then you become immortal. Now comes the last part of this evening's or this morning in the West, the discourse. There are actually some other parts which I will take in next class. That means we will dwell a little more on this mantra because there is another interesting part of Shānkarabhāshya. But in this session, a question is raised. Atmajnanena kim amritatvam utpadyate? Utpadyate means to produce. You and I see that in this world, a lot of things are produced. Factories produce something. Factories have some raw material and then they produce some. In this industrialized world, so many things are produced. It is said even Steve Jobs, who designed and produced iPhone series, now 15 or 16 has come out. iPhone, touch screen, and with a whole lot of amazing features. But for the touch screen and certain other things, the raw material was brought from some African country. Even now, I guess it comes from some African countries. Some substance, some material, which Apple Computers buys at unbelievably low price. If the seller says, I won't give at such a low price, they won't take from him, they'll take it from somebody else. And finally, it is sold at a very, very high price. Anyway, let's not go into some discussion of the economics and other aspects of modern industries. From raw material, you produce an end product. That's called utpadana. So, amrutatva, can immortality be produced? Shankaracharya says, no. Self-knowledge, Brahmajnana or Atmajnana is never a product of anything. Katham tarhi? Why do you say? Is it not produced by proper study, proper meditation, proper sadhana? Can we not produce Atmajnana? Adi Shankara says, Atmana vindate. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate Atmana. Atmana vindate. That amrutatva. Not, the word vindate doesn't mean utpadana. It's not producing. Svena eva nitya atma swabhavena amrutatvam vindate. Na alambana purvakam. Alambana means a support. You gained some knowledge, some vidya. You gained some, picture, some idea. And if you say that idea, then immediately produced Atmajnana. No. Alambana purvakam na vindate iti Atmajnana apeksham. So we have to examine in relation to Atmajnana what actually is its nature. First of all, Acharya Shankara makes it very clear. Yadihi vidya utpadyam. Vidya utpadyam means vidyaya utpadyam. If it is something to be produced, this Atmajnana, or right now the context is Amrutatva. If immortality is to be produced, whatever is produced has to perish. That's the law. Yad utpadyam tad anityam eva bhavet. Karma karyatvat. Because through action you produce something. So immortality, let us say, is produced. In due course of time, it dies. Ataha na vidya utpadyam amrutatvam. Then what does vidya do? Acharya Shankara says, Yadicha atmana eva amrutatvam vidyate, or vindate, one gets immortality from the pure self itself, not through the knowledge that was acquired through studies. Kim punar vidyaya kriyate, then what does vidya do if that doesn't produce immortality? This is a very important clarification. Shankaracharya writes, Anatma Vijnanam Nivartayanti. All that right knowledge born of studies can do or does is, it removes erroneous knowledge. Anatma Vijnanam Nivartayanti. It doesn't produce immortality. Immortality is in you, it is ever present. But this identification with the not self, Anatma, was obstructing. Anatma Vijnanam Nivartayanti Sa Vidya Tan Nivritya, through that removal of your identification with the not self, Swabhavikasya Amrutatvasya Nimittamiti Kalpyate. So in a manner of saying, you say Vidya gives you immortality. As you scratch the surface, go a bit deeper, Amrutatvam is Swabhavika. You by nature is immortal. In Saddarshanam, second shloka, Ata Swabhavat Amrutatesham. There is this mantra, Mrityunjayam Mrityubhyashritanam Aham Matir Mrityumupaiti Purvam Ata Swabhavat Amriteshu Teshu Katham Punar Mrityu Dhiyo Vakashaha. People worship Mrityunjaya, God. Save us from death. Ramana Maharshi wittily says, when you pray God, pray Shiva, with His grace, what goes is your notion of I am subject to death. You have a thought, I am subject to death. I will die. My death is coming near. There's a thought. And I will die. There's a picture of I. That aham mati dies first. Aham matir mrityum upaiti purvam. First, your ego dies. And then this expression comes over there in the second shloka of Saddarshanam by Sri Ramana Maharshi. Ata svabhavad amriteshu teshu. In these seekers, in these devotees of Shiva, who by nature are immortal, katam punar mrityu dhiyaha avakasha. How is there any scope at all, any possibility at all to again fear death? Mrityu dhiyaha, mrityu buddhehe avakasha na vartate. See how Shānkarabhāshya and Ramana's statements are extremely close to each other. Swabhavikasya amritatvasya nimittam bhavati vidya. And over there, Shiva Bhaktihi Swabhavikasya amritatvasya karanam bhavati. Because Shiva Bhakti removes your ahankara. And it was ahankara which was the platform for death. The Shuddha Aham, the pure self, has no death. Yataha, because it is this way, the mantra says, Viryam Vidyaya Vindam. Great strength comes to you when right understanding of scriptures dawns upon you, because that right understanding of scriptures eliminate all wrong understanding, and then you are left with your natural deathlessness, fearlessness, and so on. Now we conclude with taking a look at a beautiful definition Shankaracharya gives on Viryam. Viryam means strength. Viryam means balam. That word balam is there in these two lines. But he defines what is balam, what is Viryam. Viryam is samarthyam, an unbelievable capacity. Anatma adhyaropa maya swanta dvanta anabhibhavya lakshanam. I myself had to check the Anuvada 2 or 3 times to understand this long compound, but let me explain. The key word here is anabhibhavya. You know, abhibhavana in Sanskrit means overpowering. You and I get overpowered by a certain darkness, dvanta. And that dvanta, causes swanta. Especially the swanta is interesting word here. Many other places swanta means swa anta, one's own inside. But here, swa anta is something that kills you. Swa is yourself, swa anta. It finishes you off. What? Anatma adhyaropa maya. There is a certain superimposition of the nature of identification with the not self, and it is maya, it's illusory, and it kills you. Swasya antam karoti. It finishes you off. That means, like we said before, you live in death. You don't really live in life. You are dying. But all this power of maya becomes useless, becomes ineffective. Anabhibhavya lakshana. When you get this balam, strength from right scriptural knowledge, anabhibhavya. Anabhibhavya means that which cannot be defeated. When you are equipped with the balam of Atmajnana, let Maya dance, let the powers of Maya express themselves in a million ways. You will just be looking at them and say, okay, what else? I am not afraid of you. Anabhibhavya lakshanam balam. Such strength which cannot be defeated, which cannot be overpowered, which cannot be pushed down, which cannot be weakened or nothing can be done to your balam. That balam is yours, vidyaya vindate. Therefore, prapyavaran nibodhatha. Go to competent teachers. Don't waste time in unnecessary things. Gain clear knowledge. You will have such bala which is anabhibhavya, which cannot be overpowered by the tricks, by the play of mind, by the darkness that Maya tries to bring. Maya, which otherwise can kill you, cannot kill you. You remain unbeaten. That is balam, a great definition of viryam. Tacha kim vishishtam amritam avinashi. That bala is deathless. Avidya jam. Ja means janya, jata. What is born of spiritual ignorance. Within that domain of ignorance, as we said before, because of money or power or position, or you are very close to some powerful person, but all that is vinashi. Vidyaya avidyaya badhyatva. Here, your Atmajnana can give you such strength which is indestructible. Because this Atmajnana Vidya actually eliminates avidya. The last slide for completing this part. As I already said, there is a second part which gives a couple of other meanings to this mantra. Natu vidyayaha badakosti iti vidyajam amritam viryam. There is nothing which can nullify or falsify vidya once it arises. And therefore, vidyajam amritam viryam. That strength born of vidya, right understanding, is mortal. Ataha vidya amritatve nimitta matram bhavati. Precisely speaking, vidya eliminates avidya. It doesn't generate immortality. Mortality is in you. That is repeated here. And what is called viryam in this Kena-Upanishad mantra is pretty much in the same, it's pretty much the same that Mundaka-Upanishad calls balam. Nayamatma balahine nalam. There is a mantra, third Mundaka, second Khanda, and fourth mantra number is given. Atharvani, reference is to Mundaka-Upanishad, which belongs to the Atharva Veda. If you want Atmajnana, develop balam in you. When you get Atmajnana, your balam becomes again confirmed. It's a two-way process. If you have a certain inner strength, then you will be able to embrace the pure self. When you embrace the pure self, your inner strength will surely be doubly confirmed as having no limits and no boundaries. Lokepi vidyajameva balam abhibhavati. In this world also, first it appears that physical strength, big physical figure, looks and dress you wear, the car in which you go, the kind of house you have, all of them seem to have greater power. Shankaracharya gives at the end of the Sanskrit, Yata hastyadehe. An elephant comes and you think the elephant is so big no one else can stand before it. But we know that from time immemorial, human beings who many times are tiny, they are not big at all. Even among human beings, some short ones who have the skill, who have the buddhi, who have the intelligence, actually subdue elephants. The elephants then listen to the human being. The human being who has trained certain elephants says, sit down, the elephant sits. Get up, the elephant gets up. Hasti, the last two words. Yata hastyadehe. Hasti is an elephant. An elephant could be looking big, but its sharira point of view, body is very big. Doesn't mean it wins over. But vidyajameva, the person, humanity, human beings who have certain skills, certain knowledge, how to tempt the elephant, how to tame the elephant, how to train the elephant, finally how they become obedient vehicles or for other work. Yata hastyade. Therefore, for heaven's sake, don't be carried away by money, power, physical looks, etc. All of them have a certain place in the scheme of things. But if you are truly wise, go for knowledge. Not bookish knowledge, the right understanding of who you truly are. In this way, the first part of Bhashya, vākya-bhāshya, on Kena-Upanishad 2.4, second Khanda, fourth mantra ends. We will see second part later. So here we are, and let's see. Let me stop. Om Namah Paramarishibhyo, Namah Paramarishibhyo.